Hey, let's talk about this staged event that happened the other day. I have a lot to say about this because I have documentation that will show you that this actually was a staged event, regardless of what AOC says. But so apparently, if you haven't been paying attention, the squad and other progressive members of Congress were arrested because they were protesting outside of the Supreme Court recently. Obviously, or outside of the Supreme Court. Now, the reason why people are upset about this is because it was obvious to those of us who were clearly paying attention that this was either performative or it was staged. And I have proof to show you that it was staged. Again, regardless of what AOC is saying. But let's go ahead and take a look at that video, this epic video that's been going around on Twitter. Let's look at this. Now, the problem that a lot of people have also is that AOC, along with Ilhan Omar, they put their hands behind their back as if they were handcuffed. They were not handcuffed, obviously. So people are like, what are you doing? Now, others have come forward and they've said, well, when you get arrested, that's like common protocol is for you to put your hands behind your back, regardless if you're being handcuffed or not. Okay, so what? That still doesn't mean it wasn't staged. Let's look at the video first, and then I'm going to show you the documentation that I have that shows you that it is staged. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, this was shared by Douglas Blair. AOC has just been escorted by police away from the Supreme Court. Let's get into this cringe-worthy moment here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm going to pause it in between here because I see there is music. For those of you that have been at protests and have been arrested, is this the look you have on your face? Look at her face. She's smiling. I don't know about you, but for those of us that have been at protests and we've seen people get arrested, that is not the look they have on their face. Also notice the way that she's being handled. That's not the way Black Lives Matter protesters were handled. If only they were handled so gently. She's handled that way because of who she is, because she's a congresswoman. Everyday people like you and me would have not been handled that way. We probably would have already been thrown to the ground. Let's just be real. So she's smiling. Look at me, guys. Oh, look at me. I'm doing a great thing. Look at me. See, I'm fighting for the people. I'm being an activist now. So look at her hands. You can see she has her hands behind her back here. And then wait for it. Then she holds up the power fist. So obviously she's not handcuffed. It's a mess. Walk off. That's one of the videos. Now there's another one that I want to show as well. And this one is with Cori Bush. Now, I want you to see the other ones as well. And I want you to pay attention to what it looks like when Cori Bush is arrested. Watch this.
If we don't get it, shut it down. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it.
Look at how the cops are so friendly with them. Look at how they're, look. That's Cori Bush. Rashida Tlaib is right here. You can't see her anymore. I don't know who this dude is in the middle, but look at how friendly and nice they are to them. Again, I want you guys to go back to the George Floyd protest, to go back to the Ferguson protest. This is not the way police handled everyday people. Again, I will say it. They're only being handled this way because of who they are. So let's go back into this video.
If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get
Bush, the police officer has his hand on her arm and Cori Bush is jumping up and down. Now, if we were with a police officer and they had their hand on our arm and we were jumping up and down, would they have still been just standing there with us with their hand on? Oh, no, they would have said we were resisting. They would have said, stop resisting. Isn't that what they use a lot? They would have already pulled out their taser. Some of them would have already pulled out a gun. But because of who they are, they're not going to treat them that way. And Cori Bush knows that. She came right from the Ferguson riots. She saw how the police treated those protesters. That's right, Ryan and 76. They would shoot us. You see the difference? See how she can just jump up and down so freely with the cop right there? Come on, man. Come on.
When do we want it? Now! If we don't get it, shut it down!
Now, do you notice the difference? Here is the police officer taking Cori Bush away. Are Cori Bush's hands behind her back? No, they are not. That's the difference. It was AOC and Ilhan Omar who put their hands behind their back. Cori Bush doesn't have her hands behind her back. She's not trying to pretend like her hands are handcuffed. So if this was a common protocol for you to put your hands behind your back and pretend like you're handcuffed, even if you're not handcuffed, why doesn't Cori Bush have her hands behind her back like AOC? I think the difference is when you saw AOC get arrested and that smile that she had, she was doing it for the cameras. She wanted to be seen. Let's go on.
If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down!
See how she was throwing her arm up in the air like that? The cops wouldn't have let us do that. I don't know. Do they think that we're dumb? Like, seriously, come on, look. Right about here. Whoop. Here we go. See how her arm's up in the air and she's looking back and she's still yelling and stuff like that? That wouldn't have happened with us. None of us. We may not have made it home alive after that. That's how I knew it was staged. Because of who they are and because of the way that they treated them. This was planned. And I'm going to show you. Let's go ahead and move on over to that part. Because there are a lot of people that were jumping to AOC's defense. And I was just like, wow. The idolist. The people who idolize AOC, man, they're so quick to jump to defend her without looking up any information. Now, AOC tries to defend herself. And this is what she had to say. No faking here. Putting your hands behind your back is a best practice while detained. Again, as you just saw in that video, you didn't see Cori Bush put her hands behind her back. Handcuffed or not, to avoid escalating charges like resisting arrest. You threw your hand up in the air while the police officer had your other hand. You threw your hand up in the air. Technically, with any one of us, that would have been considering resisting arrest. So I call BS on that. But given how you lied about a fellow rape survivor for points, as you put it to me, I don't expect much else from you. So she's responding to Nancy Mace there. Real Tiffany chimes in here and says, I call BS. Best practice is to keep your hands where the police can see them, not behind your back. This was a photo op for you, hoping fake news would run with it. And scene. I hear you, real Tiffany. I hear you. I feel you. I'm right there with you. Right there. We right there, Tiff. It's just, let me show you what I'm referring to. You're about to see this. Now, I don't usually show things from the Washington Examiner, but I did research to follow up with this article just to see if what they were saying was true. And I'm going to show you that after I show you this article because they're right here. AOC and Ilhan Omar coordinated Supreme Court arrest stunt with Soros-funded dark money group. And it's true. I already looked it up. So listen to this, guys. I told you there had to be money involved. Representative AOC and Ilhan Omar and 15 other Democratic lawmakers who were arrested on Tuesday outside of the Supreme Court coordinated the stunt with a progressive dark money group funded by billionaire George Soros. Well. And the plot thickens. What did I tell you? Now, I've told you guys before a couple of times that George Soros money has already infiltrated Justice Democrats and Sunrise Movement as well. But also this group CPD, which I'm going to get into a little bit more in this article, is also a George Soros group. It's a dark money group. And it was that group that planned this stunt with progressive members in Congress. I want to say this again because I want to be very clear here. I don't want people to assume that members of the squad decided to get together and go do this. That is not how this happened. I told you, they don't work together. They don't even vote as a block. Come on. They were told to do it. They couldn't do it on their own. They don't have the guts to do it on their own. They were told to do it. And the organization is a dark money group that told them to do it. Let's go in. Getting arrested was the whole point of the stunt, AOC said in an Instagram post on Tuesday. So let's go away from this for just a second and let me show you that Instagram post. Well, actually, let me finish this paragraph and then I'll do it. She said, organizers of the Center for Popular Democracy Action Fund asked her and her colleagues to submit themselves for arrest in front of the Supreme Court. Well. What did I tell you? Now, this is one of those groups that it sounds like it's good in name, but the only thing is the name. Center for Popular Democracy Action sounds like a safe and okay group. Could even be progressive, right? This is a George Soros group. Let's look at that post. I'll come back to the article, but let's look at that Instagram post. So I told you, I don't usually read stuff from Washington Examiner on here, but someone sent it to me and I said, well, let me do my own research as well, just to check if what they said is true. So this is the Instagram post. And she said, let's talk about it. I'll make this a little bit bigger for you guys because there we go. So you can see this yourself too. Let's talk about it. This was an activist-led civil disobedience where activists and organizers from CPD Action and others asked members of Congress to submit themselves for arrest in front of the Supreme Court. What did I tell you? There's no way they would do this on their own. They don't have the balls. They don't have it. They were told to do it. What does that tell you? They were told to submit themselves for arrest. She put it on her Instagram post. Girl, don't commit a crime. AOC, don't commit a crime because you know what? You leave a trail of evidence. Now she goes on to say that is very different than a publicity stunt. planned and led by members themselves for a headline. So why join disobedience at all? Because media cycles go fast and the attention and urgency on Roe can easily fade. We must keep eyes on the issue. Civil disobedience is a highly effective way of accomplishing that, and it is a trained discipline. Dude, is it really civil disobedience when you're told to do it? Let's not pretend that this was not about money. I'm going to get to that in a second too. Let's not pretend that there's no money to do with this at all. She goes on to say, if I didn't or refused to participate in an activist request, people also would have burned me for that too. Dude, it's not an activist request. This girl, you know what? Wow, she's really playing a lot of people. She still has a lot of people fooled. She knows exactly what she's doing. They have in the past. I understand and accept that I operate in an environment that will not cast my actions in a positive light almost no matter what and from all angles. If I'm not there, people criticize. If I am there, they still do. So I'm just going to do me. You've been doing you, boo. You've been doing you. It's been about you for a long time. Long time. I accept being branded as too much in a misogynist. Here we go. With the misogynistic late stage capitalist society that is totally insufficient for the present moment and propagandizes its people to tear down any who challenge it. As for faking arrest, you know what? We're going to talk about this capitalist society that she's complaining about so much because I'm going to show you some receipts. As for faking arrest, that is also false. I was arrested, charged, and fined. Police confirmed this fact, and I posted the paperwork. Putting your hands behind your back is a best practice when under arrest, whether handcuffed or not, because it can help you prevent more serious charges like resisting arrest. Again, this was an activist-led civil disobedience where activists and organizers from CPD Action asked members of Congress to submit themselves for arrest in front of the Supreme Court. It was staged. Now let's go back into that article there. The New York lawmaker insisted in the Post what she and her colleagues did was very different than a publicity stunt. I just read you that portion. Omar spokesman Jeffrey Slevin tweeted about 30 minutes before the lawmakers hit the street that a film crew with Dark Money Group would be on the scene live streaming the event. And here's that tweet. Members of Congress, including Ilhan, will be participating in a civil disobedience at the Supreme Court, potentially including arrest shortly, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Staged. So let's go down to this part here. Andrew Friedman, the co-executive director of CPD Action, told the Washington Post in 2018 that the group and its sister organization, Center for Popular Democracy, received a $1 million. They received $1 million a year from Soros Open Society Foundations. Money talks. Don't tell me they're not corrupt. Money talks. Let me ask you a question. If AOC feels that way, if they feel that way, that they have to get out in the streets or otherwise people are going to criticize and other activists are going to criticize them, okay, why is it when those of us on the ground, when we told you to come out and protest, when we told you to come out and raise hell, why is it you couldn't do it? Why There's no money involved in that. Do you see what I mean? When we asked them to come out, and march for Medicare for all, again, Cori Bush was the only one that showed. You know, they take turns playing roles. They do the same thing with voting for legislation, by the way. 1 minute they'll decide, okay, you two are going to be the ones to vote present, and then the rest of us will vote no. Next legislation, okay, this time it's going to be you, so it don't look as obvious. This is what they do. Couldn't come out for marches for Medicare for all. When we ask them to do it, their own constituents, they ignore us. They're silent. They don't even tweet about it. But when George Soros Foundation, funded foundation, organization, whatever you want to call it, when they tell you to do it, you do it. Let's go back in. Such a joke. $1 million a year from Soros Open Society Foundations. As a 501c4 nonprofit group, CPD Action isn't required to disclose the identity of its donors. Well, well, well. I know I've been saying that a lot tonight. CPD Action said its leaders were among the 18 non-members of Congress who were arrested alongside AOC and the other Democratic lawmakers on Tuesday. Moments ago, leaders from CPD Action Network organizations, members of Congress, and more participated in powerful civil disobedience demonstration and got arrested to protect our right to safe and legal abortions. The Dark Money Group posted on Facebook Tuesday afternoon. So there's their Facebook page there where they have that quote. CPD Action linked a fundraising page in its Facebook post that urged activists to continue acts of civil disobedience, such as the one it coordinated with the 17 arrested members of Congress on Tuesday to secure access to abortion across the country. Like I said, of course, there was going to be money attached. They can't do anything without asking for some type of money. All they want to do is fundraise. All right. And it goes on here. That's when she talks about no faking here and so on and so on. Now, what I want to show you, you know, Cenk UYGUR, of course, he's praising them. The same Cenk UYGUR that was complaining about the squad, that was complaining about Democrats in general. Of course, here he comes, mouth wide open, ready to praise them and commend them. And he ends up putting his own foot in his mouth. Listen to this. Wait for it. Wait for it.
And if you're an establishment Democrat, get the hell out of our way, which is, by the way, 90% of the Democratic Party. Get out of the way, get out of the way so we can get into the fight and fight those Republicans. So thank you, AOC, Tlaib, and all the others for being actual Democrats and for actually caring. And I mean, you would Democratic leadership. I mean, they might do this like many months from now with kente cloth and a Bono poem in their hand, as like if they realize it's good optics, and then they can send an email fundraising off of it, right? But otherwise, you're never gonna see them take any action to fight Republicans. Nothing at all. The only thing Democratic leadership has done since Roe got overturned was to help anti-choice legislators. That's not hyperbole.
No.
Nancy Pelosi helped to put Cuellar, Jim Clyburn helped to put Cuellar back into Congress. Cuellar is anti-choice. That's a fact. He voted to defund Planned Parenthood, among many other terrible votes. And Joe Biden helped to tried to put an anti-choice judge on the federal court. That the only thing they've done is to help the other side.
Yep.
Democratic leadership is they're the worst people on the planet, because the Republicans might be monsters, but these idiot Democratic leaders are like, how do we help those monsters?
Let's go back to the beginning.
And if you're an establishment Democrat, get the hell out of our way, which is, by the way, 90% of the Democratic Party. Get out of the way, get out of the fight way so we can get into the fight and fight those Republicans. So thank you, AOC, Tlaib, and all the others for being actual Democrats and for actually caring.
Actual Democrats. I told you, that's all they are. At the end of the day, they're still Democrats.
And I mean, Democratic leadership. I mean, they might do this like many months from now with kente cloth and a Bono poem in their hand, as like if they realize it's good optics, and then they can send an email fundraising off of it, right? But otherwise, you're never going to see them take.
What was that last part? He talks about optics. Let's hear that one more time.
It's good optics, and then they can send an email fundraising off of it, right? But
the establishment Democrats may do that and make it look like good optics, and then they can send an email fundraising after it. Okay. CENK, your mouth is wide open, and you're about to be shut down on this one. You're about to be shut down on this one because, lo and behold, look what email I got. Look what I received right after this event. Boom. Now, I shared this on Twitter and I said, already asking for money. Look at this. This is from AOC's team. Alexandria was just arrested by Capitol Police outside the Supreme Court during an abortion rights demonstration. Rush a $3 contribution to abortion access groups right now to show Congress we stand with AOC. Hashtag we won't back down. Contribute. Like I said, already asking for money. CENK. Dude.
As like if they realize it's good optics, and then they can send an email fundraising off of it, right?
Mouth wide open. What he just complained about the establishment Democrats doing, the way that they would have handled this situation if they went out there and protest. That's exactly what the progressive Democrats did that he was just praising in this video. That's exactly what happened. They're Democrats. Right after sending emails and text messages to people asking for money. But no, only the corporate Democrats do that, guys. Only the establishment Democrats do that. Not his beloved squad. They wouldn't ask you for money. They wouldn't send out that email. Is CENK UYGUR going to come back on TYT and say that the squad is also using optics as well? Is he going to come back and correct that statement and tell his audience that they did send out emails immediately after asking for money? Probably not. I do have to give kudos to non-voting felon on Twitter, because he brought up something that made me dig just a little bit deeper. He said this, and follow him on Twitter if you're not. Non-voting felon said, instead of AOC's arrest, let's talk about the fact Google is her #1 campaign contributor. Amazon and Microsoft are in her top 5, and Apple and Kaiser round out her top 10 contributors. Why do these terrible companies feel like she's good for them? That's a good question. Why? I thought she was supposed to be grassroots. Remember that? So I decided to do a little bit of digging. I think it's time to look at some receipts. Now, this is AOC's funding. Again, this is on Open Secrets, public information. You can see this for yourself as well. I decided to look into what non-voting felon said. 2022, and I have not checked this all year for her, by the way. 2022, AOC's election cycle. Now, again, with open secrets, you can come up here and you can switch the year. But for right now, let's look at this year because that's what he was referring to in that tweet. So 2022, let's see who her donors are. And this isn't all of them, but these are the top 5. Number 1 is Alphabet Group, over $26,000. Alphabet Group, for those who don't know, that's Google. Second is the University of California. Third is City of New York for New York. And this is where we have more trouble. Amazon has donated over $12,000 to AOC. Microsoft has donated over $11,000. Maybe this is the reason why AOC didn't want to show up to Chris Small's event when she was called out that time, because she was getting money from Amazon. Now, she showed up after he won, but I'm pretty sure she got approval to do that. And she didn't show up alone. She showed up with Bernie. But what I want to know, for the people who continue to say that they're not corrupt, for the people who say that to be corrupt, that means you have to take the money, somebody page Kyle Kulinski and let him know that they're taking the money. So much for being grassroots. Out of all the industries, how can you take money from Amazon? How can you take money from Microsoft? How can you take money from Google? Do you guys see what has become of Justice Democrats? They're just like the others now. They're corrupt. Now, there's more that we can see if we go on. Let's go back up here. Because I told you another thing that you can do. Whee! Contributors. You can select any of these. And then this is how you can see that full list. There's more on here that I think you should be concerned about as well. That was just the top 5. She's also taken money from Apple, over $9,000. And look at that. She's taking money from Meta, which is Facebook, over $8,000. Face it, folks. She's corrupt. If this was your definition of corruption, that they have to take the money, well, guess what? They're taking the fucking money. So that's that. Very sad. Very sad. By the way, like I said, this information is not hard to find. This is public information. You guys can see this yourself. And I'm pretty sure some of these people, some of these commentators, I'm pretty sure they know about this. They either don't want to tell you about it. They're either hoping that you don't find it yourself, or they're running cover. Disney. She's taking money from Disney, IBM, Kaiser Permanente. She's gone. This is done. This is a wrap. You see this? Pass this on to your friends. Let them see who AOC really is today. And you can't really hide this. I mean, they can't hide it. Like, this has to be reported. So I don't know what to say other than she's gone. Pathetic. That's pathetic and it's disgusting. But keep voting for Democrats. I'm going to go to some of these comments in the chat. Wow, 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 wow. William says, don't these lawmakers have any laws they could be working on? Good question. Dead people's things. They're playing to the media because they know what the media narrative is going to be. That's right. Peace Dove says, Kabuki Theater. I want to put out a challenge to the squad. Stand with us on March to free Julian Assange. They won't talk about that. I think the only one that's mentioned it has been Ilhan Omar. Bad Cookies. Jinx says you are a right-winger for saying this, Sabby. So does David Dole and Mike Figueredo. If you question this righteous action, you are banished by the gatekeepers. Right? I know. They know. I'm sure they know about this as well. I'm sure they know about it. They're just running cover. Delthea says when King got arrested, he went to jail. When I see AOC with DOC on the back of her orange jumpsuit, maybe then I'll believe. Thanks for the super chat, AJF. No squad filmed protesting and cut. It's a wrap. Thank you for this one as well. Folks, the no squad do not have any teeth. At this point, without any progressive legislative wins, they're performance artists. And thank you for the super chat, Brass Tax Mode. The fraud squad or late stage capitalism. Ouch.